All right, welcome to
Hey,
this episode of Real Estate Chat with
Robert Eid.
and John Perez. Today, Robert, let's cross borders. Let's go into the US and give a perspective of what's happening out there. Now, Robert and I, because we are registered registrants practicing out of Ontario, we we look at the news and we read the news and try to understand our best of all markets here, of course, in BC, West Coast, East Coast. We're going to dip down into the US. So we're not by any means US focused realtors, but what's interesting is comparing what's going on in the US versus what's going on in Canada. So out of Housing Wire, there's this really neat article called The Savagely Unhealthy Housing Market is Back. And what Robert coins is a cute term that they use right from the first sentence. The days on market are back to a teenager level. So we know what teenager levels are, 13 to 19 days on market. We're going to look and flip into the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board market and see what it says there. But here's interesting. Anything that breaks under 30 days is a dangerous sign, which is interesting because we've been at under 30 days on market in the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board coverage areas for quite a while. And the article, I'll link it here in the show notes. Speaking with an accent today, further talks about what the existing home sales are. So perhaps in our upcoming episodes of Real Estate Chat, Robert, with his very analytical graphs and charts, will start comparing them to what the US market is doing, but existing home sales are down. No surprise there. Median prices in the US, if you're planning on moving out there, are hovering underneath the 400,000. But today it's going to be talking about inventory, and we're going to look at what the inventory there is looking like, what the inventory here is looking like. But Robert, before we dive into your point of view and your perspective on sales and inventory, what can we look at here with this interesting example of the US dipping into the teenager span of days on market? What have we been seeing here in Toronto, Greater Toronto area and surrounding areas? What is the story on inventory and what is the story on potential sales for June?
Okay, first things first, days on market is where sales and inventory interconnect. And so it's a good bellwether. And unfortunately, the article that we're using that got this teenager term to our attention, in reading what he says in the first paragraph, he says, I normally watch for 30 days. So he's got a long-term benchmark. What we use is we use a 5-year and a 10-year average for that month's inventory sales, whatever it is. And then he says that when it dips down into the teens, it's a warning sign. And it's a warning sign of one, either a credit bubble, meaning they drop the interest rate so low that everybody just has to buy because it's like giving away money free. Well, we had that, but we don't have that now. Or, he says, we have too many buyers chasing too many goods, which we have seen that as a definition of inflation. And the whole thing that's not answered in that article, or generally when someone uses that example of what inflation is why are they doing it? And in Canada right now, Toronto more than anywhere else, Vancouver sort of the same, but differently, we have a shortage of supply. And it seems a ready supply of number of buyers, demand, and they are fiercely competing for the available supply. And as a result, buying them all and pushing up the prices on the ones that are for sale. Now, we see our days on the market dripping down to in the 20s, and we monitor it 2 ways. But anyway, it's like they were, the American system, because it's nationwide. We look at it just Toronto, and Toronto is a little more homogeneous than the United States is. However, to answer your question, what are we looking at? In June, as it moves through, we're gradually seeing what looked like 8,000 sale month moving now to be like a 7,500 sale month, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If we look at the sales chart, that 11E1, we'll see that it's fallen back into the range where we were earlier in the year of being 10% off the 5-year and almost 20% off the 10-year. So it's not bad. We've had the month of May being better, but the whole thing of diminished supply has tempered the number of sales because there's less to buy. So there's competition for those and people bidding those up. We've heard about it. So the sales are throttled a little bit by supply, and they're throttled a little bit by seasonality. Every year, here we go. We see the dip down, and that's not the final. It's after 15 of 22 days. So it's most of the way saying what it is. And there's our 10 and 18%. And we're still 20% better than we were a year ago, but we're not at average. The next benchmark is to hit average, and we're not at average. But there's nothing wrong with that because we have diminished supply, which I was in the middle of saying. And that's the next thing we'll look at. Where is the inventory? The inventory is not coming on the market. I call it grandma's not selling because grandma's got to go somewhere. Grandma's got to go into a $7,000 a month nursing home. She didn't want to do that. Or she's, 85 is the new 65. You're still driving your car. My mother was anyway, driving her car and not ready for that quite yet. So that supply of people selling their principal residence, taking the money and living off that isn't happening as much. Now, as we look at inventory, we see it creeping up. This is 2/3 of the way through June. Today, my estimation times 99% of it is that we've got 14.6 thousand listings. This comes out every day. I monitor it every day, which we're still a tad 10% below the 5-year average and a tad and a half, 16% below the 10, but the trend is up. So the balance between the available listings and the buyers who are looking is going to move up. Now, this happens in the summer. This is the seasonality aspect I referred to before, that if you want to move in between the school term, you've got a kid that's going to move before September. Oftentimes they move, want to move household in June. So they go into the new school, get acclimatized, play around in summer break with the kids in the new neighborhood. Then they start September 1st. Other times they don't do it that way. But that whole school, that's why I have a school year, fiscal year for housing sales, because school and the weather is what really dictates how our market's seasonality flows. So inventory is creeping up. It should. Sales are creeping down. It should. Our number of months of inventory divides 7,700 into 14 and 6. You get about 1.9 months. Now that is not a lot. Like 3 is sort of a pretty good balance. 4 is buyers dominate, and where we've been at less than 1 or around 1 is sellers dominate. So what does it say? It says everything's normal. It's getting a little bit better if you're gung-ho, let's get the prices up, let's sell. And it's getting a little more favorable if you're looking around trying to find some, because there will be more homes to look at, and there will be fewer buyers buying because they already did.
And so history repeats itself. And what you'll find on our upcoming episodes of Real Estate Chat, please make sure you like and subscribe, is we're going to dive deep into markets throughout North America, let's say, and sort of see where things are going. And it gives us a broad perspective. I know some of our viewers here are in our area, which is Ontario, GTA, Greater Toronto Area, surrounding areas. Some of you may be watching from across Canada, across the United States, across the world. So we'd love to, Robert, if you're up for it, let's take a world tour and see how real estate markets are doing in various parts of the globe, and if it's a reflection of what we're seeing here. Now, mind you, every country has its own, monetary, fiscal policies, different dynamics when it comes to the economies that are in each country. And I'm sure we can all agree that, of course, depending on what's going on in your particular country and in your area, as far as employment, as far as business and opportunities are concerned, it's reflective of the real estate market. So, Robert, any final words before we wrap up this quick one for today?
Everything normal. Stay the course.
Fantastic. Make sure you leave a comment on what you thought about this. And if you want us to review your market, let us know where you are at, and we'll dig up some information about it. Till next time, Bye for now. Thanks for watching.
See you later.